from StreamYard here. It's like, we will terminate your broadcast. You don't go live.
Okay.
Okay, we are live here with Aries and Amandine, filmmakers behind Lloyd Loses Everything and Sherry Cola. Aries is it Aries or Aries? Like, it's Aries, yeah?
It's actually, wow, Eris, yeah.
Aries.
Yeah.
There's no way to undo what I've already done because this is live.
Fine, mate.
Aris. Okay,
yeah.
Aris.
It happens all the time. It's all right.
And Amandine, are you going to tell me your name is pronounced with like some sort of completely different?
It's Amandine. It's not that different.
That's so much better. Amandine.
I know it's better than Amandine.
No, absolutely. Okay. Okay. Let's restart this. And thankfully, only 3 people watched that. So, okay, Aries. Fucked it up again, didn't I?
Yeah, that's all right, mate. Eris.
This is getting edited in post. Okay. Eris.
Yeah.
Eris and Amandine. Am I still fucking it up somehow?
No, you got it.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I'm Robert, by the way.
Nice to meet you, Robert.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure.
Nice to meet you. So I want to talk to you guys about these two films. They both connected. I think they're both hilarious, tragic. There's a lot of emotions going on. I love the concept of genre blending in general, or not necessarily genre blending, but when films are able to evoke two very distinct emotions in people. Empathy for a character, but also humor and how those things tie together. So because we are a smaller group today, there's Passover that's happening today. So that knocked a few people out. And this was already our smallest block. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to actually just talk to two filmmakers who also happen to be actors and talk about, just have a really open discussion about the process of filmmaking, the process of acting, and hopefully just cover some bases on the types of films you've made here and what went into that. So I will start with a very dry question just to break the ice so that people know exactly what's going on here. So Amandine, you just ping me if I screw it up because
you got it.
I'm gonna screw it up at some point. I'm very sleep deprived. So Amandine, this is a rock star performance. Okay, I really believe that, and we absolutely loved it. How much of how you shaped this character was consciously impacted by how you shaped the supporting characters in her life?
That's a very difficult question. That's a difficult question. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think Sherry exists in this little sort of cesspool almost of where she doesn't have, she's quite lonely and she doesn't have very many people to interact with. I think she's very much her own person. I think she defines herself a lot by probably opposition to the others in her life.
But I guess what I'm hammering home at is how much of how you root the character is anchoring it against other characters, right? So it's like a little bit of the Kuleshov effect of what you're seeing is only what you're seeing relative to what you're seing it next to. So so for instance, I didn't particularly like her boss. I found her to be cold. I didn't particularly like her boyfriend. Or the guy in her life, I thought him to be kind of aloof, even though I was sympathetic to it. So it almost feels like sometimes you root for a character who's doing bad things because you can see the pathway to why they became that way. So that's, I guess, what I'm saying is how much of that character is consciously rooted against the characters in her life. Because I mean, if you'd made everybody else super likable, then you come out as a pretty big asshole in this film.
You know what? I think that like I think when I wrote this character, I like her and don't like her in the way that I like and don't like myself very much. And I wanted like I think I wanted to I didn't very much care about defining her in relation to the other people in her life. Like it didn't actually matter to me if you liked or didn't like the other people. I mean, I did think there was like conversations around Tom because I wanted him to be very specific based on like very specific people that I've encountered in my life.
Mhm.
But I didn't much care. I think like a big thing that I'd like to see more of in film is you know female characters being whole and actually really like unencumbered by whether or not they're likable. So I didn't actually need you to like or not like the other characters in the film, and I don't really need you to like or not like Sherry. You know, I think she does what she does and she acts the way she acts, and I felt very much like that didn't need to be justified by her feeling like she was mistreated or her like you know in relation to the other people in her life entirely. I wanted you to kind of like go along for the ride of what she decides to do and kind of enjoy that with her. But I didn't need it to be a direct, you know, this isn't like a rape revenge story or something. Not that I don't enjoy those, but like this is, you know, this is, I think how you react to what she does, how audiences have reacted to what Sherry does in this movie is more indicative of like how they view women, and especially women sort of taking ownership and doing bad, arguably very bad things, than it is of like whether or not she's justified in doing what she does, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Eris.
Yep.
Okay. Funny and tragic, and almost always both at the same time. How important was it to make this film as funny as it was, and how consciously were those beats inserted? And I say this for a reason, because I do believe humor can be used to disarm an audience into registering something a little bit deeper. And I think sometimes humor can mask a more serious point in a humorous way. I think it resonates more deeply. So I'm curious, like, it's a very funny film.
Thank you.
Super funny.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you. Yeah. No. I screened it for some friends once when we just finished, and I don't know that everyone got that it was funny, and they were kind of like sitting there going, "Uh-oh." It was very awkward. But as far as like having a conscious awareness about it, I mean, when I wrote it, I rehearsed with the actors because everybody in the film are friends and we're close, and so in the rehearsal process and in some of the early read-throughs, it became really apparent that we had to find ways to inject levity, and thank God everyone is far more talented actor than I am, writer that was involved, and they really brought a lot of they brought it. And you know, Mickey, who plays Lloyd, is one of my best friends since high school. I think he's just an incredible talent, and his ability to sort of take anything and make it funny without making fun of it. You know what I mean? Just his that's his ethos. Was one of his great skills. So yeah.
Okay. Now
I guess I'd say like I didn't consciously write it as though it was going to be funny. We sort of discovered that as we rehearsed it a little bit and read, and then realized like, you know what, this is probably the best way to go with it. And then we made some adjustments with Choices for music to help support that, choices in the edit, like with that, one of the influences was, I can't remember the name of it. I should have thought to look, but old Truffaut film from the French New Wave, where he was using the sort of the circle, that sort of open and closed scenes.
Yeah.
That I thought was really interesting. Probably borrowed from like early cartoons. You know what I mean? To give that, So we'll want to carry that over to help add some of that levity as well. Yeah.
No, I think that comes through, and I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but I laughed out loud like 5 times throughout the film.
Awesome.
It doesn't happen that often, because his pain is sort of tragic because he's so incredibly likable, right? And I think that. So, Amandine, the point that I was making earlier with your film was not necessarily that I need to like the character, but I do need to feel something like where it's not completely turning me off. Like it's something. And I think that the other thing that maybe you can get away with a lot as an actor is that very interesting. Like, you are very interesting as an actor. So I want to shift off the scripted stuff, largely because you can't see my little headquarters here, but this is like 6 screens running tech support on one screen, doing Q&As on another screen. This is madness, but I'm learning so much. We're all learning so much as we're doing this, because we've got one person on customer support right now, like helpline. Yeah, one person dealing with like lawyers and stuff. It's nuts. So it's cool. So switching off the scripted path, talk about like how the performance side of being a performer helps you work with actors, because so many of the questions that we've asked today and so many of the directors that have come on today have talked about understanding actors, understanding, like getting the trust. So I'm always curious, because I'm not an actor. I am a director. I'm a writer. I've never acted a day in my life. And frankly, if I ever do, like, my God, it will be so bad. So I'm curious how, having been in that shoe, understanding how hard it is, to perform, and how does that make you a stronger director? Does it make you a stronger director? Let's just, Amandine.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's helpful to know. I started as an actor, so I think it's helpful to know as a director what you're really asking of people, because I've worked with a lot of directors who want what they want when they want, and that can feel really alienating and intimidating and isolating. And like, I think it's also helpful to be an actor, because actors just want to be seen as collaborators, and because they are, and I think it's nice to have your opinions heard, and it's nice to feel like you have a stake in the thing, and you're not just like a talking head. And I mean, I think all of those things. I think my experience as an actor has helped me a lot. My biggest motivation for doing this, acting in this, was that I was too sort of nervous to direct anyone else.
Okay.
And I knew exactly what I wanted, and I just figured that I could do it. But I think I would have also really valued the experience of having directed someone. It was definitely interesting to be like in the frame and then out of the frame. It was an added challenge. It's very much a challenge to be directing someone when you're in a scene with them.
Well, this is a personal curiosity of mine, because I did listen to a Ben Affleck interview on The Town when he did both. He directed and he acted. And what Jeremy Renner was saying was, like, you could almost tell when you were talking to Ben, your scene partner, and Ben, the director, because he was switching back and forth. I imagine that to be absolutely exhausting. because like, I mean, again, no perspective, no depth, like never done it, but I think that must be confusing because acting alone is incredibly hard. And it's all about staying in the moment, staying present. Directing, however, I don't think it's about necessarily staying present. I think it's about staying perspectivized and in control and holding, like, you're constantly, at least I find myself constantly reminding actors, this is what happened before this scene happened, especially when we're not shooting chronologically, right? So jumping back and forth between two things that frankly don't mesh in my mind. I mean, how do you do it? Because you said you were too nervous to direct other actors, but there are other actors in this film with you that I'm assuming you had to.
Well, especially for that role, because I felt very strongly about how it should be done. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was challenging, definitely, and I don't know that I would do it again. But it was very much like being in the painting and then going out and looking and trying to, what colors do I add? It was a lot of watching playback. It was a lot of trusting other people that I was working with,
Mm-hmm.
and trusting, and sort of feeling out. It was a lot of prep. And I don't know. At the same time, I do feel like as an actor, I have, like, acting inherently does involve, especially theater acting, I think it does involve a little bit of directing yourself. When you're doing scene studies and all these things, like, you do end up sort of directing yourself. So I did feel like that it wasn't so, such a new thing for me, I guess.
Was this the first short film that you directed, or the first film?
Yeah.
Wow. I applaud you. You did pretty wonderfully on both sides.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
But it was challenging. That's all I can. It was definitely challenging. But also, I guess that's really what it felt like. It felt like scene study, which I'm sure what that's like. It's like that's what you're doing. You're feeling out the scene, and you're each actor. And also, I worked with like amazing actors who I trust and who were able to tell me if they needed, and completely able to speak up and tell me what they needed.
That's interesting. Eris, I'm curious, like I've seen two of your shorts now. I've never seen you in a performance, like as an actor, but I'm quite aware that you've done quite a bit of work on that end. So flip the question around: how has directing helped you become a better actor?
That's interesting.
That's a good question. God, you didn't see my first short film. I acted in that, and that's why I can relate in terms of, like, you did a far better job than me, Amandine. Yeah, it's tough. Directing yourself is tough, especially at that point in my life, just not having a ton of experience. But a lot of fun still. But directing has helped me to realize how little it is about me and, pardon my French, but me and my shit. You know what I mean? From scene to scene, and how really, it's also forced me as a director to, like, go, shit, I really need to figure out what my vision is. Like, what's the story that I'm telling, and what am I committing to? Because I want to, if I don't know that, how can I how can I instill faith in the actors that are working with me to then, like, there's a degree of surrender that happens from both performer and director. With director, you have to surrender an aspect of your vision to the actors, because you have your actors, you have the people that are going to embody the characters, right? And they can only go as far or do as much as you know, they can't go into my mind and then recreate nor what I want them to, right?
Mhm.
It's like I have to give over to their soul, their spirit, their ethos that they're going to bring to the character, to the part. But yeah, I mean, it's really forced me as an actor to go, I really gotta like do my work, direct myself in a lot of ways, you know,
Mhm.
in terms of just making really specific choices for myself, trusting that the reason I got hired or brought into the job as an actor is because of the choices I made in the audition or something. And
Mhm.
then see how that jives with the director on set on the day. I mean, and then yeah, and as a director, it's like I better know what the heck I'm driving at with this, because if it's an actor turns around and asks me a really smart question that I don't have an answer for, it's like, you know, I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose their you know, lose them in that moment. You
Yeah.
want to you gotta we want to pull in the rope in the same direction, you know.
I think just my experience working with actors and trying to get a really good performance, I think there's really no escaping being honest, you know, and being someone that people don't have to think too much about second guessing your opinion.
Right.
But I've heard a lot of you know, unfortunately, film is very complicated. Right. It takes a lot of people to make a film, and it takes a lot of decisions to ruin a film or to not ruin a film. And often there's an audience reception where everything is directed towards the actors and the directors. So if a performance sucks, it's because the actor sucks, right? And Kyle Gallner yesterday said something hilarious on the Dinner in America, freaking fantastic film and fantastic actor, Kyle. And he's so unfiltered. And he quoted Sean Penn, and Sean Penn said, "Look, if the film sucks, it's not my fault, right?" So I would imagine that being a director, stepping into that, it would probably help a lot as an actor to just see how much the person holding the film, editing the film, sound designing the film, scoring the film can absolutely ruin or completely elevate your performance. I've seen a lot of really shitty performances get saved, in the edit.
Yes,
Oh,
as have I.
Yeah.
As have I.
But I've also seen like brilliant performances. Maybe I was an AD on a set, or maybe I was just maybe I was directing the thing, and I'd seen a brilliant performance on like that I saw live, but because of the way it was shot, because of the way it was captured, because of the way it was cut and edited, whatever sequence, where it was placed in the shot, if it was placed in the shot, maybe it was lost. So I think often for an audience, every question gets directed to these two sides. But I think that's just putting it into layman's terms. So has this experience of directing helped you understand film as a more holistic medium, requiring so many contributions? Or did you already have that perspective as an actor, where you walked into it and you're like, I understand this is a 5,000 person effort to make my performance shine? We're going for tough questions here. we want to stump you. No, honestly, on Champagné in the last one, he said he got to all these film festivals and he's like, this is the best. These are the best questions I've ever been asked. So I was like, you know what? I'm sleepy as fuck right now, but I'm keeping this up. Like I want to force people to think, because at some point people are gonna watch this, right? And I want them to get something tangible out of it about who you guys are as people, And I think that if they really, by the way, if anyone's watching this, you're super duper curious about what their films are like, and you wanted me to ask them a synopsis, Google that shit. Like that's available. But we're just trying to get, because one of the things that we did, not to ramble off on a total tangent here, but one of the things that we did was we were wondering all year, how are we going to provide value for filmmakers in this forum, right? It's the whole concept of actor-director thing is actually tie into me being a filmmaker festival director, right? This whole thing of flipping it, flip, and having the perspective of seeing the other side of it. And so all these film festivals were like, man, it's so hard to go digital. And I'm like, do you understand how hard it is on the other side? Like to be a director, having to fucking screen your shit at like Zoom calls and like, I mean, I had 4 of my films live streamed stretched because it was anamorphic, and they stretched it because it was part of a block. So
Brutal.
one of the questions I was asked was like, what was with the why did everything feel so stretched? Was that an artistic choice? Then there was another one that was sound mixed down. So like there was like a loud beep in somebody's film, and they mixed the entire file down. So they live streamed it. I'm not going to name it which festival did it, and everyone's like, how did you make the film sound so quiet? And I'm like, you're so polite. It wasn't that fucking quiet. So you know what? It's like, it's helpless. You're watching it and you're like, oh no. So, you know, how many people have we heard today say, I could have saved that money on that 5:1 mix? You know, my film doesn't sound like this, you know, and people are watching shit on a cell phone. So we're thinking about all year, like, how are we gonna provide value for filmmakers in this forum? And one of those ingenious ideas that one of our team members had was, you know, there's all these filmmaker passes that never get used every year. You know, because people can't attend, people are too far away, whatever. You know, they're busy, they're on a shoot, whatever. Why don't you give it off to festival programmers? You know, so that's what we did. So every single Q&A, every single thing, and I was just like, that right there, like maybe that's something we can do. And then last night there was this brilliant suggestion from Rhonda in the midnight thing. She was like, why don't film festivals not just record these things, but actually invite all the filmmakers that want to attend into one of these 10-person conference rooms and don't record, right? And don't even have the festival be part of it, right? Like, I wouldn't be there. So I'm kind of curious, like, what are innovative strategies? Maybe, like, let's workshop it. Like, you're filmmakers. You've been filmmaking in the age of Rona, right? So what are innovative things that you would think of as filmmakers that film festivals out there who might be listening, because there's definitely a few, that maybe they could do for you? I hope this is the screenshot.
I know, right? my neck, yeah, the befuddled looks. You want to take this one?
I mean, I think that's really tough. I think
I would say, honestly, the fact that, like, to have the time to sit and to have a discussion like what we're doing right now is fantastic, and I appreciate that. I couldn't tell a festival producer or programmer what the heck to do to make it better, and I would hope that they wouldn't tell me what to do to make my acting better. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know what to say outside of that. I think the opportunity to sit and discuss film and discuss the work that I don't know how long it took you to finish your film, Amadine. It took us almost 2.5 years, you know, so it's a long process. Yeah.
I totally agree. I think honestly, I mean, you can never get in person when you're not in person, but I think, like, being able to see faces and talk, is the best. I'm glad that that's still a thing, because it feels like a lot of the festival is very kind of abstract, and it sucks when your sound mix gets completely ruined by, you know, someone. Those things suck, and there isn't really an easy answer for that, because there is nothing like being somewhere in proximity to other people who also made their films and having that energy and you know, being able to all watch together.
I think that was the big oversight when we were thinking about this. And one of the things we didn't think about was, hey, no matter how much we try to integrate community, no matter how much we try to drive viewers to the site at the same time, add urgency, add FOMO, how many people messaged today and said, I'm trying to unlock Dinner in America. It's like, it's gone. Like, that ship has sailed. You know, find something else. Because because I think the film festivals are how many times as a festival director have I heard someone say, I only have Friday night, what's playing Friday night, right? So sometimes this echo chamber, and I think shorts are particularly amazing at this, that you have to watch something that you didn't choose to watch
Mm.
in a way. And every time we try to plant a little seed short in the middle, you know, like something that probably no one would give a you know, like really want to watch, but it's a film that you really need to watch, and you kind of have to watch it. And so by opening everything up and saying, okay, you have, you know, 2 weeks to watch anything you want, you are helping certain films for sure that are going to rack up views because they have the big stars, they have the big Sundance Laurel, whatever. But you kind of disproportionately disadvantage certain other films because there's no urgency, and you just never know who's available on a Saturday night only. And that person just says, you know, I mean, I know someone who said, like, I don't really like shorts, but that's all you have playing at 9 o'clock. And that's the only time I have. I was like, give it a chance, watch it. Because, you know, it might help you discover something else. Amandine, Cher is a survivor. I'm just switching gears back to the film. You know, Cher is a survivor, just getting by, trying to make a buck at whatever cost. Does this film serve as a bit of a litmus test for gender bias? You touched on this. Yeah, that we may support men who take similar actions and call them, quote, hustlers, but we may not always extend the same adjective to describe women who are basically doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely. I think she exists in the world where, yeah, she's really wrapped up and almost obsessed with getting money and wearing cool clothes and being more powerful than she is, which is not very powerful. And I think she uses the bit of power that she does have over this person to get what she wants. And yeah, once again, I think that it's interesting because I was in another panel and someone described Sherry as like sociopathic, and I really don't like that word and that term used to describe human beings, but I think it's sort of telling of, you know, how, yeah, we view women in this who take control or who take, you know, get the bag or whatever, like the thing is. Like, I think it's telling to describe someone who does basically scams a guy out of $2,000 to call them a sociopath. And that's not the first time I've gotten that reaction of how like terrible it is and how crazy it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I just I find that really interesting. I think also the sort of the genesis of this was, I was talking to a friend once and she was telling me how her boyfriend he had heard some story about some basketball player who like had sex with this woman who then ended up like impregnating herself, like some fantastical thing that like makes no biological sense, and how terrible it was, and she was doing it for the money, blah 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 blah. And I think I just see this misconception a lot, or this thing a lot in our culture of like a way of vilifying women who you know start an OnlyFans or who supposedly get pregnant for money or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I think it just points to like our culture's preoccupation with sex as the only way for women to really get power, get money, or so. Yeah. Oh no.
We lost your mic. Can't hear you, mate.
Yep, I do that once every, I think it's a tradition. It's actually a tradition. This has been the one static thing of all panels is there's one time where I will start talking where I've muted myself and I have no idea why. So, it's fascinating to me that this could become a sort of like a litmus test for oneself to examine their own biases. Because I think that films should do that, right? That they should, if it disgusts you, because this concept of being objective with film is impossible. You cannot be objective with anything. Like it's like impossible. Like everything you see, you're mapping out your entire DNA, your history, your biases, your understanding of it onto it, and then interpreting it as if that is what it is. This is offensive. Yeah, it's offensive to you because you think X, Y, Z, right? So just continuing on that, because I think that you've kind of tapped into something, because this notion of the American dream. I grew up in the States, I grew up in New York. I heard about the American dream. I've seen pictures of the American dream. I've seen movies about the American dream. I gotta tell you, subconsciously, I've always understood the American dream to be a man dream.
A man dream.
Yeah, no, I mean no offense by that. I'm actually opening it up to critique, because because it's defined from a very masculine lens, right? Hustle, be assertive, be industrious.
Highly individualistic. Be
absolutely
go off on your own, and
absolutely every one of those things. And yet those are pretty much the exact opposite of what we're asking women to do in our societies. And I'm not pandering to gender, and shit. But I'm trying to actually open up like an actual discussion about this. Is like, do you think that maybe how you hear about the American dream impacts your impression of the American dream? Because if like you're reading kids' books, and all the heroes that are pursuing this mythical dream are men, then it sort of frames you as like, I am the other person in this person's dream,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think definitely a lot of what's considered the American dreams are very like what are associated with masculine values, or I think also we forget in the quote unquote American dream about, the other forms of work, which include, not like wage labor, like caretaking and all these things that typically women do, building communities. And I do think, like, I guess being a millennial and growing up, I do think I inherited this very specific form of the American dream, which ended up leaving me feeling like I was like I couldn't make any mistakes, or like I was incomplete until I had achieved some form of success or power, and that would keep me from being I don't know, mistreated, or that would keep me from having shitty relationships or getting sexually assaulted, or that I felt there was sort of like a correlation there that I think doesn't necessarily, I think also exists with men, just to a different degree maybe. But I mean, I think that's just a lot of the discussions we're having now, in politics and all that is just like, what is that? What is the American dream, and why do we define it in this way that really leaves out? And I mean, not only women, but like all kinds of people everywhere. Like it doesn't. There's so many people that it doesn't include, and so many ways of living that it sort of shames or doesn't celebrate. And I definitely think that this character is at the point in her life where she really is trying to make it work. She really is trying to, she's trying to get the cool clothes, and if she can't afford them, then she'll steal them. And she's trying to act really callous, and she thinks that that's the way that she's gonna get what she wants. But yeah, I'm also interested what you guys have to say about this notion of the American dream.
I live in Canada.
So
No, but definitely inundated by American media. My gosh, like yeah, from very young age. Yeah, I don't know. It's really complicated. Like I look at an old play like Death of the Salesman, which is what I don't even remember every year that was written, the Arthur Miller play, but like just yeah, Biff and Willie are like the epitome of this, like, these two sort of, at that time, I imagine these two very contrary ideologies that are centered around the American dream and what does it mean to be a successful human being. I guess in that case, what does it mean? What did it mean to be a successful man? But what does it mean to be a successful human being? I mean, the great thing is that like with technology and, there's kind of a leveling of the playing field as far as people being able to make their own films and get their own ideas out there, self-publishing books, the internet. I sound like my father a little bit saying this, but I mean, it's there's an opportunity for people for large swaths of the population to be able to access material, like, and access new ideas or new voices, get in touch with new voices. Like Robert, you'd mentioned that there's primarily probably male influences or male voices that were telling the stories that you were reading as a young man growing up in New York, and I think I had a similar experience here. But when I look at like my nieces now, they're watching, like, they're not even necessarily reading books. They're watching YouTube influencers, what do you call them? And that's what they want to do with their lives. But I mean, I'm like, great, it's fantastic. Are you connecting with somebody? Like, is there someone who is setting an example for you that like excites you, that makes you excited to be alive, and to want to strive for something, like to strive to, I don't know, do something with yourself or with your talent, or unearth some gifts, or question who you are? It's like fantastic, and that they can find that over YouTube. But yeah, great. I think it's great.
I've had a lot of time to think about the American dream. Just in general, it's been a personal preoccupation of mine, given how many films, how much literature has been written about it, and how much thought has been devoted to it in academia. And I think one of the things that I came to the conclusion of during the last 12 months, really, with everything that we've been going through, is that rooting any positive perspective of yourself into something that you cannot control is setting yourself up for failure, if that makes sense. Like relying on material goods or money or something like that, to elevate some insecurity, or to feel like, okay, well, now I fit in. I have $1 million. Now I fit in. This zero sum thinking is a pathway to misery. This is like me waxing poetic here, but like I was talking with my girlfriend a few weeks ago about the proverbial wall that is there. It's like it's there, and it's like at every level. You can go as high as you want as a filmmaker. If you're a certain type of filmmaker, you will eventually find that wall. You'll be making millions of dollars for sure, but someone else is controlling all your edits, right? And it's like most people never find that wall, right? Like most people never hit that wall because they don't go that far in their career, and the wall just becomes this sort of hypothetical, future thing. I'll cross it when I get there, but it's like the pathway to that wall. And my question to a lot of people was, how do you get around it? And someone said something really funny. They said, you bury your head in the sand and you go underneath the wall. And that's how you get through it. And that's a very uncomfortable process. But I think when you come out of that process, what you come to realize is that I really don't give a shit what anyone else thinks I should be doing. with my life, this sort of social media echo chamber. I was talking with Mark Grasso today about like, when's the last time you were ever congratulated for taking 5 days off to just reset your brain a little bit? This is not a value that we promote in society, right? We're too busy saying like, we celebrate money, we celebrate achievement, we celebrate status, we celebrate Oscars, right? Have you ever spoken to someone who won an Oscar? I've spoken to 2 people who won an Oscar about that moment. And they both, and then I'm not going to name names, said it felt incomplete. It didn't feel resolute. It wasn't what I was expecting. And I immediately felt this crippling sadness that I would never be able to recreate this moment. This might be the peak of my career. This anxiety exists beyond that high level goal, right? So I think the American dream is a somewhat of a myth. It's meant to divide the haves and have-nots into, because I think so much of what you can achieve in life is what you believe that you can achieve in life, what you think is for you to achieve in life. And so the American dream, as Amandine said, it leaves a lot of people out. And those people not having that dream then do not get to share in the consciousness of pursuing that dream. They just don't even pursue it. They pursue a counterculture of that dream, right? Crime, like this blog.
Which
wow.
is, I would argue, part of the dream itself. It's not like we don't celebrate that.
Yeah. We have an audience question for anyone staying with us this late. Like, we're all tired. Yeah, I get it. Amandine, I loved your performance. What's your next film?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm doing I'm actually working on a sort of documentary right now. So I'm really looking to I don't know if this person I guess they meant acting wise. I'm not doing a lot of acting wise as of late. I'm very much looking to not do much acting.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's not, you were just saying about like how, I think it's difficult to always feel like, you're being looked at and you're being, it's just difficult to I think it's difficult to like expose yourself, even in an audition. I don't know how you feel, but like, I think it's difficult to always expose yourself to scrutiny and I think I really have been enjoying, looking at other people with like, having other people do that. So yeah, no, I'm not acting in anything at all in the near future, but I am working on a couple projects, just not acting in them.
That's really cool. And I think as much as your performance was really good, I think a lot of that has to do with how good you are as a director. So I mean, like, I've watched a lot of people's first shorts. Take it from someone who watches, like, I think close to 850 shorts a year. I mean, this is about as good as you can get when it comes. It's close to about as good as you can get for a first short. Yeah. I mean,
Thank you. That's
yeah. We had a guy on, a friend of ours 2 days ago, Odishay, a bit, and he had an actor who had gone to being a director, and a bit of an inspirational story in this sense, because his short went on to Urban World and it won I think the Audience Award there, which is an Oscar qualifying film festival, and it went all over. We actually met at Gasparilla because both of our films were there, and it was so good. Like, there was something so tangibly good about it, and and I was shocked to realize it was his first short. He went on to make a feature, bam, ended up on Netflix, ended up blowing up on Netflix, and we were just chatting about that and how he had started to explore this more directorial side of it. He progressively giving him less and less roles as an actor, and I've seen a lot of actors do that. where, you know, you start as an actor and you just fall in love with directing. So, yeah, I mean, if that is the path they're going.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I've seen a lot of actors do that. Is like you kind of, I've seen a lot of actors start by just giving themselves roles that they aren't offered, and just wanting to challenge themselves and being like, okay, I'll just do it myself. I also think like I mean, this is another sort of the myths that we tell ourselves, but I never thought that I could direct. I didn't think that was ever like a feasible thing that I could do for a long time. And I don't know why. I just didn't. I thought that was like for other people, like smarter people, more talented people. I had this sort of boy genius kind of myth around it. And I mean, the reason why I wanted to be an actor is because I loved movies. It wasn't as much theater. It was just always movies, and I wanted to be a part of them, but I never even considered that I could direct. Like, I really did not consider it, and I'm not sure why. But now that I'm like, oh, you can actually do this.
Might be the same reason why maybe certain people don't consider the American dream their dream.
Yeah.
I mean, you can turn on the Oscars any day and see, you know, the Oscar nominees for Best Director, not this year or last year, but perhaps when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And just over and over and over again, they all kind of look the same and they don't look like you. And I think that that's really important. I mean, right now, before this short block, we had Through Her Eyes, and there was a touching comment. That was a very, very active Q&A because we had tons of people there, like 9 people. And somebody said, like, I feel so alien in the film industry as a woman. This concept alien has come up like 6 or 7 times in Q&As. And this feels so reassuring to see 9 women together on a panel like this and just talking about really awesome films. Like so I've never really been huge on representation for representation's sake. Like, this is not my political ideology. I've never really understood, like, how are you helping? But the more I do this, the more we do pen dance, the more I see the effect of it. The more I see the effect of, like, how gender parity on your features program might make it possible for somebody to reconsider, is it actually possible for me to become a director, right? And this is
I think it definitely does. Yeah,
because it's like it's just weird because how many of the films we programmed are tied together. There's a film tomorrow called The Bears on Pine Ridge, and it's about youth suicide among Aboriginal youth, and in Pine Ridge, and they had the highest youth suicide rate in the country. And they were like the director was talking about it. He said, you know, at times they're going 3-4 in a week. In this one community, and why it's so tough. And we were just talking about, well, what's the story that these kids are telling themselves? 80% poverty rate. How hard is it? I don't matter. It's kind of systemically baked into the you know, their society, that they're supposed to feel that they're outside the pathway to success, that things are going to be really, really hard. And I think if that is your belief system, much like, you know, I'm pretty sure that you didn't grow up thinking that, like, women make better directors than men, right? But I've actually heard that so many times because they're like, you know, my mom was a single mom, and she used to tell me, she's like, women do a lot of things better than men. She's like, women are better organized than men. Women do this better than men. So I kind of grew up with this sort of like, am I ever going to be as good as women are at things, you know? But if that's my messaging, then that's obviously had a very big impact in terms of how I see things. It's also had a really big impact in terms of how I hire people, right? Because I don't have an implicit, like, subconscious bias when I'm choosing between a male or a woman, man or a woman, and think, well, they're not going to take her seriously. You know what I mean? So I think subconscious biases need to be challenged constantly. And, you know, I would really implore you, not that this is a fucking therapy session or anything, but I really implore you to ask yourself like deeply why you felt that, you know, you couldn't direct. Because you're obviously
it's absolutely. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, because I chose to be an actor when I was like 3. Like it was the only thing I ever wanted to do, and it was because that's what I thought. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's absolutely that's what it was. It was that I thought that like if you're a young girl, then you would be in the movie, and it would be like the older man would be the director, and I just thought I was, you know, just that would be my role in this industry, because I knew I wanted to be a part of films, but it was like, and I really loved it, and but I definitely thought that was it, because that's all I ever saw. And you know, you start to, female directors are still sort of niche and considered female directors rather than just directors. And so it wasn't until later on that I started to learn about, you know, Agnes Varda and Claire Denis and all these people.
I think that's a really important thing, is that every time we put a kind of hyphen in front of something,
mm-hmm.
we kind of make it less than. I was always kind of curious to know why every American was something American except for like a certain type of American. Oh, so Chinese American and Indian American and Native American. Like there was always an asterisk which said you're kind of like removed from what it really means. You're kind of half-seed, you know? You're like Asian American. Like your kids will be Asian American, and you know, so many comments about that, and that's why I'm very very cautious about representation and creating this sort of representation for representation's sake, or you know, whatever. Like our feature films achieved gender parity for the first time ever, right? Not by design. We did not try to make that happen. We did not reverse engineer it. And frankly, because we are super I don't give a fuck what you do. If one day we select 10 male directors to the features program and 0 female directors, and those are the 10 best films, we would actually do that. Because you know what I mean? Like it's a strange world, because I'm always worried. It's because we gave an award to a director in 2017, and she said to me, because I've talked to you, because I know you, I know that I didn't win this award because I'm a woman. I know I won it because my film deserved it. And that stuck with me, and it became like a part of an ethos of Pendance, like forever. And I was like never gonna pander down to meet some sort of quota. And I'm never gonna have somebody wondering why they got in. Right? Like our hashtag story of everything got literally born that day when I received that email, because it's so it was weird to me, because it was like, you know, like I ended up proceeding to talk to women who had gotten into Sundance, into the features competition, which is damn near impossible to do, and they weren't receiving the same opportunities on their next project, on their next TV gig, because there was like a discount attached to that selection, which may have been earned or may not have been earned. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like people were looking at it like, yeah, well, you know, you might have gotten in for this reason, you might have gotten in for that reason, right? And it's sort of like the whole point of getting into the Sundance Features competition is to be able to claim that you have done that and to open a lot of career paths for yourself. And so people are discounting that, then that kind of it buries everything. So I think it's really important for I don't know. Where the fuck am I going with this? I'm gonna like literally edit this down to like nothing. You know, it's been super interesting to get to know you guys. Paris, like you're in Toronto. I hope that we'll meet at some point.
Me too.
Like, you know, super interesting film. Both of these films are awesome, man. Like really.
Here's something that you can do for next year is bring us back, because I was part of the reason why I targeted your festival when I made my submissions.
Targeted?
Yeah, I totally did.
Yeah.
Initially, it was like I read your mandate on your website and all that stuff. I did my research. I really liked the things that you stood for or said that you stood for, and I like, and you're in Toronto. It's like this makes perfect sense. And you started. I think your first year, it was 2015. Your first year,
2017.
2017. So
Wow.
I made my first short in 2015. Right? It was just like I'm like, oh, this is synchronistic. In my mind, right, in the story that I told myself. But still, yeah, I want to have a place like that I can kind of call home, at home in Toronto, to screen things, so like the crew can come and like the actors can all get together and we can just watch it together, because that's what the beauty of filmmaking. It really culminates in.
It's super cool how this has happened. We have a Finnish feature that's making a world premiere over here, yeah, and we were reaching out to press to cover this film, and we're hearing crickets because they're like, we're busy with South by Southwest. We don't really want to do this. It's digital. Nobody famous. Like whatever. And I was like, fuck, right? Like this sucks because we've been wanting a feature to do a world premiere here for a while, and we think we're a really fucking quality film festival that just picks dynamite films every year. But this other side of it, the business, the press, the media, the sponsors, all that stuff, that takes a while to build up to. And it's an important part of what you're supposed to be able to offer filmmakers. It's a really big part. You don't want to take somebody's world premiere and show it to 80 people, and you want to have like a marketing plan and to be able to do everything. You can't ultimately give someone something you don't have. And so we talked to the filmmaker, and they were talking about, well, over here in Finland, you guys are a really big deal. And I was like, I've heard that about Greece, I've heard that about Italy, what the hell is going on here? And it's actually because we've spent 4 years now selecting literally the rising stars of every country. Like, it's not even a joke. Like, I mean, honestly, like we have literally been picking like the 24-year-old hotshot, director in every single country, not deliberately, but just by accident, because those are the types of films that have resonated with us. And because that director has either gone on to be greenlit for a feature, and Pendance was the only Canadian, we developed a bit of a reputation as a film festival that will take films from all around the world. And we haven't been super Canadian content quota, if you haven't noticed. It's like we selected 3 Canadian films among 41, and people were batshit, like they were pissed. They're like, how dare this festival? We pissed off a lot of people. But I hijacked well, I mean, I've seen it done this way. I've seen and this is, and by the way, this is the wall, right? This is the wall. You cannot become like this early stage. You don't get a second chance to do this, right? You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. You don't get a second chance to redefine your brand. Once people pretty much think like that's what Pendance is, that's what that festival's about, that's what it represents. That's the type. Like, good luck changing that in the next 20 years, because it's always going to be slightly tainted. So, that's the festival that just selects all the local filmmakers who have kind of like average projects. Well, that doesn't sit too well with international filmmakers who are getting rejected, by the way, who still pay the exact same amount of money. That definitely does not sit well with audiences who are having to sit through these pedestrian and kind of crappy films. No offense, right? So if you're trying to create like you're like a meaningful conduit between festival, audience and filmmaker, then you have a responsibility, I think, to select the best films possible and to get the most audience possible. And it's like you simplify that, you get to that point. And sure, yeah, we'd love to give things back to Canadian filmmakers. We always do. Like we did Directors Lab last year. We give out free tickets to emerging film school students. We try to pull people into our pipeline as much as we can, get them talking about Pendance, whatever, but never at the compromise of saying like, because the world is very large and Canada is very small. Geography be damned. Like, it's a really big country, but it's a really small country, and it's an extremely young country. And coming from New York, I hold that perspective, right? And yeah, so it's really important to so what you said, Aris, like about having a place that you can just like have your film. I mean, you're a fantastic filmmaker, and
Thank you.
you know, but the thing that I would say to you, and this might be very controversial, I'm gonna have to toss it out of the friggin' final cut of this, is that
Lay it on me.
yep, we don't do the guaranteed alumni thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But
I do.
But we do give you waivers for life.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like it's not like we're charging you to submit all you want, but it's still got to be a great film because you know what I mean. Like, and I think
Respect to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, on that note, on a sort of daunting note, like yeah, there's no alumni network here. No, but I will tell you this again, and I will say this in a very honest and sincere way. Whatever your films do from here on out, please count us as support. If you're having a big launch at another film festival, feel free to tag us. We take programming very like deathly seriously because we know that we have to actually support that project forever. So whatever you do, when you go online, we'll help. When you go on VOD, we'll list the link. Whatever you do, because it's hard. Yeah, like it's hard, and any bit of help that we can provide to the filmmakers that we select, we're happy to do it. All right.
Thank you.
This is going to get chopped a lot, by the way. When this yeah. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks. Nice meeting you all.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right.